Alright, we're on day one of the Everest Base Camp trek. Today we went from Kathmandu to Lukla to Phukting, where we are now at 2,620 meters. Woke up in Kathmandu this morning at 1 a.m. because jet lag. Didn't have to leave the hotel until 4:45 a.m. Went to the airport. First one, third one, technically, to get on the plane. The landing was not as scary as everyone makes it seem. The trek today was, I think, around 5 miles, 2 hours, 45 minutes, 3 hours. Was downhill most of the way, but the uphill parts, the stair parts were brutal, so we're gonna see how I do. But yeah, I guess that's kind of it. I just explored the town, if you can call it that. I walked down the main part and then back up and took so we're gonna be hiking 7 hours or 8 hours tomorrow. I looked it up and it's around 6.5 miles, but it's mostly uphill. So tomorrow will be, I think, one of the longer days, not the longest, but one of the longer ones. So it'll be a cool test to see how strong I am. I got my first glimpse of the Himalayas today. Yeah, tomorrow's Namche Bazaar. We're there for 2 days. We'll hike to the Everest View Hotel. Hopefully get a view of Everest. It was pretty cloudy today. There's supposed to be peaks right outside the window, and we have the main hill full of trees, but you can't see the actual peaks. So hopefully the clouds will part tomorrow. It's only 1 here, so I have the whole rest of the day to do whatever I want. Yeah, that's it. Everest Base Camp day number 1. Alright, we are on day 2 of the Everest Base Camp trek. The motto for today is the only way out is through, because it is a hell of a journey today. We are now at 3,440 meters. We hiked 6.5 hours today, entirely uphill, mostly stairs, and steep stairs at that. In the morning, I felt great. For the first 3 hours, basically, we were climbing a lot of stairs, but I was I feel like I got this. I just go at a granny pace, go super slow, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. Then we had lunch. It was delicious. I had fried potatoes and eggs and veggies. Lots of veggies that I've had so far. And then the 3 hours after that was a little bit fun, but a little bit not fun. We did the famous Hillary suspension bridge. The thing I was not looking forward to is everyone was oh, there's a million steps before the bridge, it's gonna suck. And it actually wasn't that bad. It was a lot of steps, yeah, but it wasn't that bad. Just a lot of, go to granny pace and try to think about everyone who's passing me. And we made it into the official national park. But yeah, we're now in Namche Bazaar. It was, the last hour was brutal. It fucking sucked. It wasn't stairs, it was just a very steady incline going up. And I could feel it. My heart was pounding. I feel I was out of breath a little bit, well, a lot. And I was trying to keep myself under control. I was starting to lose my balance a little bit, and I didn't feel woozy, but I was definitely I needed to stop every I don't know, 5 or 6 steps. I survived, and I'm here. So we went from Phukting to Namche Bazaar today. It really is a city in the middle of the mountains. I think I'm starting to feel the effects of altitude, getting out of breath, even just making this video. I'm starting to cough, so I'm really hoping it's not the Kumbu cough. That's the other thing, that the temperature changes so fast. I feel I'll be sweating 1 minute and then shivering the next. Good thing I brought lots of layers. Good thing I can take stuff off. And I'm now again the highest I've ever been, so that's super exciting. Tomorrow we're getting up nice and early and visiting the Everest View Hotel, because that's another thing. We were supposed to be able to see Everest today, and then it got too cloudy, so we couldn't. I didn't realize that it would be cloudy this time of year. Reddit did not tell me that. For now, I'm going to rest and drink lots of water and try to recuperate. So, yeah. We are on day 3 of the Everest Base Camp trek. Today we went to the Everest View Hotel, which is 3,880 meters. Despite the name being Everest View, we did not see Everest because it is too cloudy. It's just been so cloudy the last couple days, but I did get to see my very first proper Himalayan mountains. So we saw a couple of like 6,000 and 7,000 meter peaks, which were amazing. They were like shrouded in clouds. It was so cool seeing like the clouds go over and then like all of a sudden they're there, and then like 30 seconds later they're covered up. But yeah, it was a pretty easy day. It took like 3 hours, 4 hours total with like stopping up there. It was pretty slow going up. Lots of stairs, gained like 400 meters of elevation. Super easy hike down, and then this afternoon I had to do some shopping. So this is the cap that I chose. It's fine. It did burn my scalp and my face and my arms. I think you can't really tell, but I burnt everything. So yeah, that was my short day.
This is the mountain.
Alright, today is day 4 of the Everest Base Camp trek. We went from Namche Bazaar to Tengboche to Deboche, which is where I am now, which is at 3,830 meters. I'm not feeling the effects of altitude sickness at all, so we're chilling for now. I only got a wee bit sunburnt today on one hand, but not the other, so I don't know what that's about. And I even put sunscreen on. Today was super exciting because we got to see Mount Everest for the first time. And she is so pretty. Today was just so clear that you could see a lot of like the mountains in their full glory. The morning was pretty easy. It was just pretty flat. Like, I guess my definition of flat is changing while I'm here, and that it's all uphill, but it's like slightly less uphill. We had lunch down by the river. The afternoon's work got rough. We had to hike up 700 meters through the rhododendron forest, and like the rhododendrons, like the stark contrast between that and then like the white mountains was just unreal. It was so pretty. I feel like I didn't even capture it on camera properly, like the way it deserved to be captured. Hiking up there was switchback after switchback after switchback after switchback. They just kept going. Every time I thought that like, oh, we might be close to the top, turn another corner and there's another switchback. Steady uphills were not bad. Like they were like, I was struggling, but like not terrible. It was just the stairs that got me. It's like these giant blocks that, I don't know, come up like halfway up my shins and I'm having to like step over. That just really made it tough. So we went to Tengboche, the monastery. That was really cool. I got to go inside and it was like crazy, like rivaled some of like the old like Christian churches that I've seen. Just so ornate and so beautiful. And then we hiked a mile to Deboche, where we are now. That was rough. It was all downhill, which should have been nice, but my back was killing me and I was ready to be done. And then we got to like Deboche, like to our lodge, and what do you know? All uphill. So cool, so awesome. I about gave up, but I didn't. We persist, one foot in front of the other. But tomorrow will be an easier day. We'll see how that goes.
Some picture.
Alright, today is day 5 of the Everest Base Camp trek. I am outside today. We started out at like 7:45 or 8 today. Went from Deboche to Dingboche, which is where we are now, which is at 4,420 meters. Tomorrow we go to Loboche, which is 4,970. So we just keep gaining. This morning wasn't bad. It was kind of like like not that bad. It's like, I think when I start calling it flat, I'm gonna mean that it's flat, but it's uphill, but it's not like horrible uphill. It was flat for most of it. We got to the village where we ate lunch and I was not hungry at all because we had eaten breakfast 2 hours earlier, and I'm wondering if I'm starting to get a little like symptomy of the altitude effects, because losing your appetite is one of them. And the afternoon was more uphill, not as bad as yesterday. I don't think anything can get worse than yesterday. It was pretty uphill, not too bad. And now I'm here. I got my Project Hail Mary playlist. I'm making myself feel more whimsical and a little more motivated and a little more like I'm having fun. I'm having fun. It's just like, it's a lot of hiking. I'm not tired, I'm just mentally tired. Yeah, but let me show you. That's where I am. There's allegedly mountains up there. Here we are. Alright, today is day 6 of the Everest Base Camp trek. Today we went from Dingboche to Lobuche, which is the second highest tea house that we'll stay in on the way to base camp. Tomorrow is base camp day, which I am super excited for, but today we are at 4,970 meters, and tomorrow we go to 5,300 something, I think. Today was all about helicopters. There were so many helicopters. Like 50 at least, going back and forth to Gorakshep, which is like the town closest to base camp. So lots of people get sick, they go to Gorakshep, they get flown back to Lukla. And it was crazy, there were so many that it was like, it felt like you had to duck at some points, and you could feel the wind from the blades like blasting down. It was really cool. It wasn't that loud though. And there was a lot of times where we were walking higher than the helicopters were flying, so it was like we were hiking sort of on the side of a mountain, and the helicopters would whip around the edge of the mountain and go down into the canyon. So it was really cool to see them flying back and forth and being so close. We also went to the memorial for everyone who died on Mount Everest, which was really cool but very humbling because there were so many rock stacks and big like rock cubes with like, you know, names inscribed in them and in quotes and, you know, that sort of thing. And it was really humbling to be there and to see just how many people died, you know. Lots of prayer flags. I got to see the Rob Hall and the Scott Fisher memorials. And then we finished up by walking like an hour and a half on flat, and I mean truly flat, like land to where we are now. I can definitely feel the effects of altitude. That's for sure happening. I can feel myself getting like out of breath really fast, although I'm losing my appetite, although I'm not getting like a headache or anything else. I just feel, again, mentally tired, not like physically tired, or maybe a little bit physically tired. Now I'm here, it's cloudy out, but we did get to see a lot of mountains this morning and this afternoon. Beautiful. It was like 360 surrounded by mountains, which was gorgeous. Yeah, tomorrow we hit base camp. Yeah, can't wait for tomorrow, day 7. Alright, today we have days 7 and day 8. So, for day 7, yesterday I didn't film because it was a long day and it was a hard day, but we made it to Everest Base Camp. So, that was at 5,364 meters and was truly one of the, if not the coolest thing I have ever done in my entire life. It was just, the energy there was insane. Everyone was so happy to be there, and this was really, really awesome. Hiking there in the morning, I honestly don't remember, which is probably a good thing. The afternoon was like a 3 to 4 hour hike, I think, there and back, including spending a lot of time just like sitting there and like observing everyone. But it was a lot of like just up and down and some flat, but coolest part I think was when we got down to the bottom. It was like kind of going through all these like boulder piles on the sides of these like big hills, but when we got to the bottom, you were walking like right next to the glacier. Like if you like looked over, there was like a pit and there was the glacier, you know, the glacial lake. So it was super cool, amazing. I loved it. And going down was like a very steep going down, and so I was really worried about having to, you know, come back up, but luckily it wasn't that bad. I think my body is like getting more and more used to the uphills, thank God. Although when we got back up, I started to get a little bit of a headache, and I was like, whatever. And then I fell asleep, and then I woke up at like 2 a.m. with a headache. So then that leads us into day 8. Woke up today and I had a massive raging headache. Like my eyes were throbbing, like my head was pounding, and it was like definitely not like a dehydration headache, which I have had and currently have, you know, but it was like an actual pressure headache, kind of like, I feel like when I've been on a plane and you like land and I just get like that really sharp pain in my head, like that's what it felt like. So I knew it was like pressure and altitude. But we hiked to Kalapatar. We made it about halfway up, and I was like, I can't do this. But it was so pretty getting to see Everest, like in its full glory. We saw a crescent moon. It was like the tiniest little sliver next to it. And we got to see the clouds sort of like drifting off the top of Everest, and it casted this huge like shadow. It was these 2 like lines coming from Everest, like on the whole sky. It's just so pretty. It was just amazing to see. I felt very lucky to have seen it. But we today went from Gorkshep to Periche, where we are now, which was about 10 miles of hiking, because I got sick, so my guide said we had to get down fast, and that we did for sure, and I do feel much better now. I just need to drink more water because I have a dehydration headache. Besides that, we have now 3 days left. I think we're going to Lukla a day early. That's it, short updates because not much going on. Alright, today we are on day 10 of the Everest Base Camp hike. I didn't film day 9 because I was too exhausted. We went from Periche to Gyeongjuma, which was at 3,600 meters, which is, it was like an hour before Namche, because going from Periche to Namche would have been a very long day. We hiked another 10 miles that day. We went down the rhododendron forest. It's a lot more fun going down than it was going up, but it hurt my knees and my ankles like bad. And because we've been like going down so much, and my boots are like a half size bigger than they probably should be, I'm getting like blisters on my toes. But we went down, and then we had to hike up, basically up another version of rhododendron forest, and it felt like I was like, oh, the village will be just around this corner, and it was never just around that corner. And there's this really cool optical illusion that happens in Nepal where you see the place you're going to be staying, and then it gets slowly farther and farther and farther away the closer you get. So it's like you think that it's going to be right there, and then it's actually like an hour walk, which is only slightly annoying. But I think that was about the only cool thing that happened. Alright, today is the very last day of the Everest Base Camp trek. We made it back to Lukla. It was a brutal 3-hour climb today, uphill most of the way. Classic way to end the trek, you know, it always ends uphill. Now I am trying to pack all my stuff. I'm trying to get it all in a way that I'll have extra space in here, because I got this rug thing. This is Everest Base Camp. It's very large, so fitting it in here is going to be interesting. And then I also got a little painting. This is what it is. There's a sunrise, Everest, and then you got a suspension bridge, the yaks, and then the river. So I really like this one. But yeah, it feels weird to be like done and have it be over with. It's a nice feeling for sure. I'm eager to get back home. It's also sad because now that I'm looking back, I enjoyed it a little bit. I enjoyed some parts. Some parts were miserable, but I definitely enjoyed a lot of it. It was a good experience. I think I learned a lot for sure. A lot of things about myself, but yeah, when we got to Lukla today, we saw lots of dogs. Yeah, I think that's about it. There's a lot to say about this trek, but a lot that I think I will leave unsaid, and that it's all mental. It was a very hard physical trek, but we're done. I calculated it was 75.3 miles over 13 days, which is insane if you think about it. That's like crazy. I think that is it. The motto of this trip, I think, has been one foot in front of the other.